Hey, what's up there, comic fans? It's your boys, Comfire Rich and Nate here, and we're here to bring you the top three of the week. Nate's gonna go ahead and take us off. So, Nate, what do we got for the top three this week?
Well, it's hard to come up with just three, but the one I found to be the most impressive was the fact that they're actually going to do kind of a retelling of the second end of Old Man Logan, which Richie knows is probably one of my favorite Wolverine stories, and Richie's read it, and I think he can also agree that it's also one of his favorite, if not the best. So we're actually able to enjoy continuation of what's going to happen in that. So Old Man Logan #1 basically kicks off right after the original trade. So now Michael Bendis, who some of y'all are probably familiar with, has done pretty much everything big that Marvel's done in the last 5 or so years, is the one who's writing this story, and the art. Off the top of my head, I can't remember who does the art, but they do a really good job. It's very, 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 very professional looking. Um, if you haven't read it, I suggest you go back and read the original that Mark Miller did. Is might be my favorite comic of all time.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna want to reread it. Even if you have read it, go back and reread. I mean, it literally picks up. I mean, right at the end of Old Man Logan, he's done take Hulk's son, and he's jetted. So it kicks off right after that. I mean, it just continues the mayhem right at the end of the first trade, and I'm excited. I'm excited that they brought this back, because he goes ham bone. I mean, Logan, he tearing up everything. He cutting people to pieces and stuff, and with this one's at the end of this one, you see the Ultron helmet. Right, and this one got the Ultron helmet, and he's like, all right, we're climbing this wall. You're not really sure what's going to happen. He leaves after he takes out the bad guys. He's leaving the city into the hands of the people who's lived there this whole time. He's like, y'all better build something out of the city. If I come back, I'll do it myself, or something along those lines. I don't know.
And without
But it
spoiling
ends
it for the people who have read the or who haven't read the trade, but he does run into an Ultron robot. I think it's about the third issue in the original 8-issue set, and there's actually a little call where he kind of remembers that. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on with this guy? So I think there's a lot more to it, and with this only being the first issue, I can definitely say after one issue, I'm really excited for the second.
good stuff.
Oh, and just to
Yeah,
remember, because I forgot, the person who's the artist is Andre Sorrentina, and he does an absolute fantastic job.
Oh yeah, the artwork is great. Bloody, bloody blood everywhere. I thought I was looking at a Quentin Tarantino film for a second. It was so bad, but exciting. Nothing but excitement all the way through it. The next one in this top three is Postal. And as a new person to comics, I really gravitated toward this particular comic. I don't know if it's because it was just new in the series. There's only 4, and this is where we're kind of picking up in this one, is the 4th one, which is about a guy that has Asperger's. He remembers everything, and I always am drawn to characters who have like a certain ability or knack. This guy definitely has that. He's remembering everything he sees, smells. Nothing's getting by this guy, and the fact that he has no empathy. It's like he doesn't care, and he doesn't have a filter. It's like what? He doesn't think. He doesn't even think before he speaks. He just says exactly what's on his mind.
Well, he's able to tap into
with no emotion.
Right, he doesn't have an emotion. He doesn't have any particular attachment to anybody. He basically remembers everything. It's a great storytelling device, and it's probably one of the most unique storytelling devices to actually give someone what most people would consider to be some type of deficiency or disease, and then able to turn around and actually make them pretty awesome. So it's kind of like, imagine like anyone who's ever watched The Mentalist, if you can imagine our man Patrick Jane being able to do all kinds of neat stuff, and then that's pretty much this guy right here. He doesn't remember, he remembers everything, no matter what it is. And this story starts to kind of build like he's going to have a lot going on. He's going to be able to help solve some problems, and it actually ends with someone coming to him needing to have a problem solved. So he's almost kind of becoming like Postal's very own little Asperger's sheriff. So
yeah, is it Postal because he works at the post office and he deals with people's mail, right? So
correct.
To set this town up for people, and Nate, you can correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but it's basically what it is this is like a town set aside for like rehabilitating past criminals, right?
It's pretty much for people
Like
who have,
everybody in the town, the mayor, the sheriff, the citizens, everybody, they all are convicted criminals.
right. It's like,
But they're selected to be in this town for like rehabilitation or something like that.
yeah,
I
it's
think.
kind of like if you've had all your chances and you don't have a third chance, this is it. Like, your option is to move away from society, join a separate society that's basically built around a bunch of criminals, and that's your only choice. So everyone in this town is a criminal. Now the difference between our character is that he was born into it. His mother is the mayor of the town, and because he has Asperger's, everyone kind of looks at him. Not to put that that stereotypical word of like being retarded, but that's basically how they see him. So they see him and they're like, yeah, this guy, the only thing he can handle is delivering the mail. Like, they're not willing to give him any type of special job. His job is to handle the mail. And for a town like this, that is probably the last thing in the world that really is important, because you figure no one knows about these people being here. So who in the world is going to be sending them mail? It just so happens that this guy is every letter, and they make a real big note out of every time something comes in that's damaged. He has to copy it down and deliver it. So this guy is consuming massive amounts of information through the mail. So it's kind of interesting to see what he's getting into.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's putting like a dossier of everybody in the town together in his own mind, and if he's having delivered to them, he's picking up stuff as he's going to their house, as far as what kind of car they're driving and things that's going on around there. It's actually really neat. And surprisingly enough, even though this is a town completely comprised of crooks and criminals, there's not a lot of crime going on, right? Like, it's not like murders happen all the time. Because it's their last chance, most people try to be on their P's and Q's.
Right. They kind of live by a code. It's kind of like a code of knowing that this is your last chance. If you want to actually enjoy something that's kind of like society instead of being behind bars for the rest of your life, this is your last chance. You're going to have to sit around in this town, behave by their laws, and contribute in some way. And that's kind of where we start. We kind of start with that situation in the beginning of the series. And another thing that you'll find out as you read is that the whole concept is kind of strange, and it's definitely brought the attention of the FBI. The FBI is like, what's going on with this town full of criminals? And they want to know more about it. They want to know what's going on there. So they've kind of planted a mole in there to kind of give them kind of a, informant of what's going on. And that plays out in a really interesting way. So not to spoil all that for you, but definitely Postal as itself, as a series, is something you need to pick up for sure.
Now, I'm assuming if they're watching this video, they've at least read the other 3 issues, right? So I mean, this 4th issue is picking up right after his dad, who everybody thought was dead, comes back, right? I mean, he hasn't beat. The guys are in masks, and this particular issue picks up with him in the hospital, and this is what makes this character so interesting. This is, a young kid. He's not a criminal. He was born in this town. He finds out his dad's still alive, and his dad used to run stuff back in the day. Has these cronies like beat the mess out of him to toughen this kid up. It's kind of like, tough love. You're my son. I'm about to make you a man. No fear, no emotion, nothing. He ain't crying. He's not boo-hooing. Matter of fact, because he has this disability or disease, he remembers and knows everybody who beat him up, even though they were wearing masks. So he like calls them to this basement and stuff like that. And no emotion. Again, he's just sitting there. He was just like, I want an apology. My dad thinks I'm weak, and then it just kind of hits the fan from there, and the story picks up on after that, and some interesting stuff like this. I think this fourth issue really hooked me into this series.
Yeah.
I was enjoying it a lot before then, but this fourth one really closed it off.
I think the difference between
from all the stuff that went down.
I think the biggest difference between this one and the other one is that they spent the first few just kind of really setting up the character. You know, Mark, you already kind of feel like what's going on with Mark. What's he thinking? Because a lot of it is told from his point of view in his mind, like what he's thinking about things. So when you see him basically set these guys up, and I actually think it's a barn. Maybe it's a barn. I don't know. Maybe it's a basement. When he actually brings these four, I'm saying four. I don't remember exactly how many people it was, but all the people that beat him up, and he brings them in there and basically says, "This is why, because you had this on your shoe, and this is the only place that you can get this mud, and then this and that." It's pretty crazy, and that him and the young girl, the FBI agent now, are kind of working together. He already had a thing for her beforehand, as he, mental dialogue basically discussed how he, could already tell that he had an attraction for her, but because he's, the type of person he is, he's not just going to come out and say, "I really like you," but he might come out and say something else. So I'm really interested to see more, some more conversations between the two of them. In the future, and I'm really interested to see what the deal is with his dad. We basically know that his dad ran the show. His dad was a bad guy, or a criminal who was basically stuck in this place, but he basically ran the show. He created the place. His mom's now in charge. His mom said that the girl that was murdered in the beginning was his sister, and that the dad's coming back. He's coming back to take everything. They thought he died. They hung the guy on a tree. What's the deal with this dude? Is it some type of, this dude's just hard to kill? Or are we talking about like some type of supernatural element here? We don't know. Yeah,
I don't know if he's got something more or not. Because, at the end, they talk about him being this dragon. They keep saying, oh, he's this dragon, And, the limb broke, he didn't die. And at the end, they have him as, they say dragon, but it looks like a demon, it looks like a devil. He's got the horns coming out of his head, kind of like Loki, he got them horns coming straight up out of his head. And, he's smiling at his son. And the interesting thing about the end of this, with this dream that he has about his dad, that he's visualizing as this dragon demon person, is he said he felt love like normal people felt love. And like, how's he going to take that? Like, what, obviously it looks like he might be maybe siding with his dad. I'm not really sure how he feels about that. Like, what's an emotion like that going to do to a guy that's not used to feeling that kind of emotion?
Well, something else I thought about, let's say his dad obviously has a lot of interest in his son at this point. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell anything, but maybe his dad has the same syndrome that he has. Maybe there's a lot more to it. Maybe the dad, there's something in him that, makes him unique. And his dad's like, I see this in my son, and I'm coming to get my son because I want him to be the one that takes over. Dude, there's endless possibilities to think about what the potential for the series is. But it's only 4 issues in, and four issues in, man, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm ready for the next one to come out, definitely. What's the next one? So that's Postal in a nutshell for you, and that's some good stuff going on there. And the next one's Fight Club 2.
Yeah, and for anybody, this is definitely the last but not the least of our top 3. This could very easily be at the very top of this list, and these 3 are no in particular order, by the way. But Fight Club, if anybody who remembers the original movie by Fight Club, it was one of probably the most crazy rides of a movie that you could be on. I remember being a teenager seeing this movie, and then watching it again as an adult and just still enjoying every minute of it. They basically said, well, we've been thinking about doing a movie, but instead of doing a movie, we're going to come out, we're going to do a comic. And it's basically the same writer. who wrote the original script for Fight Club 1. The creator.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, the creator. And he basically came out and said, you know what, listen, I'm gonna do a comic. It's I think it's an 8 or 10 part series. I don't remember. I know it was on the top of the most exciting new comics for this year. And one issue in, man, and I mean it's a hammer. It's basically, just imagine 10 years from now, our boy has now married Marla Singer, the crazy girl from the original, and they have a kid. So put those things together and start imagining just how crazy that is. And Sebastian has basically put himself in, he's on medication to suppress Tyler, and now he's trying to live a normal life. So imagine all the stuff that happened in the original show, and then trying to put that all back together. So
it's almost like they hit the reset button. I mean, if you think about it, it's 10 years later. He's done all this crazy, wild stuff. He now has a family that is a byproduct of that previous life, but with these pills and medication, he's basically exactly the same person he was before Tyler Durden broke free in the movie. So it's like he's still doing the same mundane stuff, and trying to live the American dream with the house and all the stuff, and everything that they reference in the movie is back to normal, and it's like it's going to explode, and exploded before, and you're reading this, you're just like, oh man, what's going to happen? Tyler Durden is still in there, they're just suppressing him. What's going to happen when this guy finally gets out?
And the interesting thing is that with the kid, you can hear in the comic the kid's talking about making stuff and making like bombs and soap and stuff. So you can't help from thinking, does this kid have his own split Tyler Durden?
The kid's all in his house. The kid's in the house. He's like making making nitroglycerin and stuff like that again.
Yeah, and I mean this kid's like 9 or 10 years old, and you're like, what is this kid doing? So this kid just might be the perfect blend of the two characters. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So that begs the question: is Tyler Durden an alter ego for both characters, the boy as well, or do you think the boy has his own alter ego, or do you think he has one at all? You think he just because technically the alter ego it is one and the same person, so you think the boy is he just has gifts from both of them, maybe?
I guess that's
it's interesting to think about. They don't talk about it in the comic.
It would be interesting to see the kid have his own, but it would also be interesting to see the kid basically imagine this kid raised by both of them, and what type of child this would produce. A kid who's a normal kid, but at the same time he thinks outside the box as much like Tyler does. So it's going to be good. I know this first issue kicks off with a bang at the end, and I have a feeling it's going to keep going.
Yeah, a lot more is going to happen. Another interesting thing about this with Tyler Durden is he comes out 3 times a week for 50 minutes at a time to still run his empire. He's still making car bombs go off and all this destruction going on, not even just locally, but globally. So this character is able to make global things happen with 50 minutes 3 times a week. I mean, it's scary to think what's going to happen when he finally gets out in full effect. What kind of damage is going to be done? Because it's obvious reading this that none of these guys are done. He's still going into bars, and people got the kiss lips on their hands and black eyes, and they're all busted up, and they're still doing favors for this guy and stuff. So I mean, he has to know that Tyler Durden is still out there somewhere, still keeping things alive, even if for.
Well, I think that's the funny thing. It's like Sebastian might be so drugged up from his medicine that he sees it, and he might not even know if it's real or not. Like, he might assume, well, Fight Club's done, but Fight Club could have continued without us, and he really doesn't suspect. And it's very classic Tyler Durden style to have basically the Shrink be putting Sebastian under hypnosis, and voila, Tyler Durden, and the Shrink is basically working for him. It's very classic, and it's really exciting. I mean, it's so funny. The whole issue in itself is just absolutely great.
Yeah. That's it. Interesting stuff. And this one ends up with the house blowing up and the son still inside. So, I mean, I don't think he's dead. I mean, they're not going to introduce his character. They're not going to build his character up about building stuff and then have him killed off. But, you know, who knows? You know, we never know. And that's kind of issue 1 with Fight Club. But, hey, thanks for joining us. And, look, like, comment, subscribe, get in the conversation. Or, you know, let us know what your thoughts are about this. Where do you think the series is going to go? You know, what do you think of our top 3 picks? And again, not in any kind of order. It's just these are the ones that we've kind of gravitated to read and talk about for you guys. And hey, get back to us. Follow us on Twitter, Campfire Rich and Campfire Nate. And until next time, we out.